It's common for some people to be more perceptive than others to situations that seem to have no concrete explanation in our earthly plane. However, in a spiritual realm, they find their form and reason. This is precisely what happens with that sensation that can touch certain individuals, where they feel as if something deep within them provides the necessary guidance and advice to navigate their lives harmoniously and free from setbacks. Often this manifests as a kind of inner voice that seems to guide you on what you need, even giving you encouragement to continue and overcome the situations that arise. Like many other phenomena that intersect scientific knowledge and spirituality, when people become aware of this, they feel like they have lost mental balance and that something is not right with them. But the truth behind this is that things could be much better than you think, because that little guide is nothing more than your higher self, a part of you that connects you in an incredible way with the spiritual realms and the knowledge they emanate. Beyond consciousness, this part of your being is in a highly elevated state, receiving information necessary for your daily and spiritual development, and subtly ensuring that you have the tools needed to face any challenge. Many times when this topic is discussed, people tend to reject the idea of feeling this guidance from their higher self. But once they delve into it, it seems true that this voice is present in them. That's why, on this occasion, using the knowledge imparted by Dolores Cannon as a guide, a researcher and hypnotherapist who dedicated herself to exploring the human mind and its most complex aspects, we will venture into exploring some of the signs that provide evidence of this connection with our higher self. So pay close attention, because everything could be very evident to you, and you might be overlooking it due to lack of awareness. Number 1. The feeling that something is not right. At times, it seems as if our being reacts in an anticipatory manner to something that is beyond our knowledge and control, leading the person to experience a strange sensation, as if deep down and beyond consciousness, we ourselves know that something is not going as it should. Many people call this intuition, and it is inexplicable on many levels. But in the spiritual world, this could be signaling the knowledge that our higher self has about some event. But intuition doesn't only arise from our life experiences in our current incarnation. On much deeper levels, the soul of that individual and the memories it holds from past lives will also serve to guide the current journey. Dolores Cannon maintained that the human mind has a superior capacity to store memories of these experiences, along with much other information acquired during our journey on Earth, in this and other times. From this knowledge, it is possible to assert that this internal voice representing our higher self is, in reality, a channel through which we bring the knowledge and wisdom necessary for a smoother journey. This intuition can arise in various aspects of our current life, triggered by relationship situations, work, friends, or even family matters. There is no exact parameter to measure the things that can awaken our intuition. However, this is something that is there, and it will be awakened whenever needed, providing us with a bit of wisdom and guidance, with which we are better prepared to face every challenge along the way. From today, let us recognize how that internal voice turns out to be our higher self, seeking to help us along the path we tread, and from there, let's give greater value to internal dialogue. Number 2. Internal whispers. As we mentioned almost at the end of the previous point, the person often seems to hear a small voice within themselves, with which they can engage in dialogue if they set their minds to it. Sometimes it is very clear, depending on the person's ability to introspect, but other times it is just a soft murmur. At this point, we must remember that internal dialogue is one of the most effective ways in which a person can self-discover and identify those aspects of their being that need to be worked on for personal expansion. Additionally, as we have been explaining, from there we can connect with our higher self, thereby gaining the wisdom it possesses and wishes us to benefit from, making it easier to overcome the challenges that come our way. These challenges present a clear opportunity for growth and must be faced with the willingness to grow from them, pushing ourselves a little closer to what we desire. The more willing we are to listen to ourselves, that voice seems to become clearer, allowing us fuller access to the knowledge that our soul holds. We must understand that internal dialogue can be challenging for many, as we not only access knowledge, but also expose everything that needs to be eradicated or healed. Without interference from the ego, our internal dialogue can lead us to take action on past wounds or things we had simply wanted to keep buried. Dolores Cannon argued in her research that through immersion in our own being, we can initiate a healing process, in which wounds, even from past lives, are treated so that they no longer hinder the expansion of our being. As this author expresses, our being is composed of layers, and only through immersion in the deepest layers can we access that multidimensional wisdom, which is managed by our inner voice, which, in the midst of its work, never stops seeking to impart the necessary knowledge, even if that whisper is ignored in many cases. That's why we must learn to listen to ourselves and cultivate internal dialogue, because from there, our higher self will be even more present in our lives, guiding us with wisdom. Number 3. Appearance of synchronicities. The third aspect that strongly attracts attention and can give us clues about that connection with our higher self is undoubtedly synchronicities, a concept explored by Dolores Cannon in the midst of her research. According to this author, synchronicities are a kind of language that the universe uses to send signals to the individual, as if at a deeper level, it understands them without them expressing themselves. These winks from the universe appear as a reminder of the energetic interaction of the person with the individual and can be appreciated at different times and in various forms. Moreover, these synchronicities appear as a kind of validation that the universe gives to certain actions, thoughts, or determinations made by the person, in this case, guided by their higher self, affirming the path they have chosen to take. For many, these synchronicities may be seen as isolated events or mere coincidences. But for those who are knowledgeable and fully connected with their higher self and that inner guiding voice, these winks mean much more. And surely, if you are unfamiliar with the topic, you may wonder, what are synchronicities in essence? An example of the occurrence of this event is, for instance, a sale that crossed your path just when you decided to purchase something you needed for a long time, like shoes. Let's say you are a woman and you have had a pair of heels stored for a long time. You have been invited to a very important work meeting, so you take them out of the closet. However, upon seeing their condition and fearing they might deteriorate at the event, you choose to buy new ones that are also more comfortable for you. Have you ever thought about it? Just on the day you decide to invest in it, walking along the regular path you take, you come across a super offer at a shoe store. This is an example of synchronicity and how the universe seems to give you approval for certain ideas, thoughts or actions that you undertake based on your intuition and a higher level of consciousness. It seems that when you make decisions guided by your inner voice and the intuition associated with the wisdom of your higher self, the universe encourages you to continue in that direction and provides you with precious details reflected in these friendly winks. Number 4. Recurrent dreams loaded with a message. We should understand the world of dreams as a special space, suitable for a person with a high level of spirituality to jump between elevated realms, obtaining knowledge and guidance that can be helpful to their being. Although this idea may make some people nervous, beyond fear, fascination should be generated because this reality affirms that we can go beyond the limits of the conventional and obtain valuable and useful knowledge for personal growth and even for topics of collective interest. The realm of dreams can show you truly fascinating things and may be loaded with messages directed to your being and its needs, somehow responding to the concerns that we consciously pose. But when it comes to the connection with our higher self, these dreams seem to become more frequent. and the way they are loaded with symbolism becomes more evident, no longer being disguised information, but becoming references that can be deciphered with simple logic. Not only that, but there are people who claim to have the same dream over and over, giving them the opportunity to go a little deeper each time into the message intended for that soul in a state of consciousness. This seems to be another example of how we connect and communicate with our higher self and the wisdom it provides from various elements. These encrypted messages become the reality of your hours of rest. Although some may want to interpret dreams as reflections of current experiences, trying to find the reason they are closely tied to our realities and concerns from there. But the truth is that these recurring dreams with a deeper encrypted meaning than what meets the eye are taken as another sign that we are connected to our higher self, while it seeks to impart new knowledge useful for our life journey. This is undoubtedly important when it comes to the signals from our higher self, because it could be more present in your being than you think. Number 5. Nonsensical thoughts that don't seem logical. Although this may seem like the onset of madness or an untreated attention deficit condition, the truth is that the meaning of thoughts can go far beyond the barriers of the physical, rising to a more spiritual level. These thoughts may not seem to fit within the realm of logic and appear as if they are pulled from a bucket of irrational thoughts and ideas unrelated to the present moment. However, the way these thoughts end up connecting to unconventional solutions to the issues at hand is intriguing. If we could be more patient and truly dedicate ourselves, we might see how, fundamentally, these thoughts do carry a message and even a solution to the issues we are dealing with. This makes them appear as encrypted messages about solutions to the matters at hand. Our thinking doesn't always have to be logical or square, and the way the human mind can let itself soar to imagine the most fantastic things leaves many in awe. Part of this becomes evident when suddenly these illogical thoughts reach our being, which may seem absurd but end up representing at times examples of how our being can find solutions to difficulties beyond the ordinary. These ideas, more than a touch of madness, show us that creative spark that we often suppress or have no interest in letting soar. Besides being a manifestation of imagination, it can also be loaded with wisdom and tools to solve specific issues. Sometimes, it's not bad to let the imagination soar and prepare our minds to present another perspective on the situations we face. Approaching challenges from a different angle may help find better ways to address them. Allowing the mind to wander and propose unconventional possibilities shouldn't be considered a sign of madness. Instead, it should be recognized as a high level of creativity, adaptability, and intelligence. In many aspects, these types of thoughts are associated with our higher self, the knowledge it seeks to convey, and the tools it provides to navigate our journey. Number 6. Ignoring current physical discomforts. Perhaps at this point, you pause and wonder, what do my discomforts and ailments have to do with my connection with my higher self? The answer to this lies in the way our body becomes a projection of our internal state. Similar to our reality, our physical body has the ability to show and manifest our current internal state. Therefore, the symptoms it exhibits are ultimately associated with traumas, ideas, anxieties, and other energies stored within us. Our inner state is so crucial to our being that things like the feeling of being silenced can end up causing our physical body to experience issues at the level of the throat, mouth, and tongue. Others believe that unresolved childhood traumas, depending on the type of aspect involved, can eventually lead to strong muscular and skeletal discomfort. In addition to the examples mentioned, there are numerous internal energies associated with physical discomfort. Some experts have even ventured to speak of cancer as a consequence of serious unresolved internal issues, emphasizing the crucial role of paying attention to our inner selves in our lives. As if fully aware of this, some individuals often choose, sometimes unconsciously, to set aside physical discomforts and focus on more spiritual matters, a mechanism of healing, according to many. From a superficial perspective, a person can provide many explanations for making this decision, but wise individuals attribute it to intuition that guides us from the deepest and unconscious part of our being, our higher self guiding us. It's essential to note that by doing so, a person contributes not only to their health, but also to their spiritual awakening and the expansion of their being, significantly aiding in a substantial leap in consciousness. Number 7. The person begins to experience a sense of disconnection. This might be a cause for concern for many, as much has been said about mental illnesses and depressive conditions, where a person, even when physically present, seems detached from everything around them. However, it's important to distinguish between this and a state in which the soul is preparing for a significant personal transformation, the latter being the focus of this point. Many times, individuals may feel that their surroundings no longer resonate with them. This can happen with an environment, a group of people, or even with oneself. Let's go step by step to understand it. This feeling of disconnection is described by people as a period in which they realize that the essence of what surrounds them or represents them as individuals is not what truly fulfills them. But this doesn't mean that the person is heading towards depression, as thoughts of pessimism are not present. Instead, there are thoughts of expansion and transformation. According to each individual's process, our interests can change, so in the pursuit of our evolution, we seek to align ourselves more with what we now consider beneficial for our being. Asking that a person remains the same is complete madness, because in the midst of our journey, we acquire wisdom, experiences, and new knowledge that allow us to refine and expand. Understanding this, it's not surprising that the need for evolution arises, one that manifests at a precise and perfect moment for each person, and is preceded by a sense of being detached from what is left behind or what is now going to be approached in a different way. Let's keep in mind that our higher self is guiding us through changes that aid in our internal growth and, consequently, the refinement of our being and soul. Thus, its guidance can lead us to this point where we seem to disconnect, only to later resume our journey from a different perspective, in different spaces, surroundings, and even with a different attitude. Number 8. A change in the way we present and carry our relationships. Before delving into this point, it's important to emphasize that the concept of a relationship doesn't need to be confined to a romantic context. The term relationship encompasses family ties, friendships, work connections, and more, so here it is described in a general sense that can be applied to many levels. With this clarified, we must understand that the way we relate to other people speaks volumes about us, what resides within our being, and how we manage ourselves internally. It is evident that nobody can give what they do not possess, so it is impossible for a person who is internally unbalanced to provide a healthy relationship in which both parties maintain respect and reciprocity. This is a phenomenon that has been extensively studied, especially by psychologists seeking to provide a clearer understanding of the complex human mind and how it reacts to various situations, such as past traumas, childhood wounds, or misguided perceptions. The wounds a person carries can be so profound that they end up affecting other aspects of that individual's life, one of which lies in their relationships and how they interact with others. From friendships to a romantic commitment, all these relationships can be a reflection of the wounds that a person silently carries, requiring careful observation to detect flaws and problems. But this is not only a psychological matter. Metaphysics also seeks to explain how internal aspects can significantly influence how an individual relates to others. According to the insights revealed in Dolores Cannon's research, the energies stored deep within a being can dictate the kinds of relationships they will have in their life. Cannon also points out that the mind is highly complex and composed of layers, which are not impossible to traverse, but each one reveals more information about what manifests in this individual's life. Part of this connection with our higher self will almost obligatorily lead us to look within ourselves and reveal what we have consciously or unconsciously tried to set aside. Confronting this compels us to heal, eradicate those feelings, and cleanse our being, from which our being heals, expands, and improves, with implications for our reality. Not only will material aspects be modified within us, but also our way of relating will change in proportion to our own transformation. The deeper the changes experienced by our being, the more drastic the contrast will be between past relationships and those we have now. The relationships we retain will be healed and modified to the point of appearing entirely new. This is undoubtedly a positive and quite noticeable aspect for both others and ourselves. It indicates that the connection with our higher self is stronger and more present than ever, signaling that we are allowing ourselves to be guided by the wisdom that this part of our being brings to a conscious level. To conclude this point, let's not forget that relationships that do not evolve alongside the individual will become obsolete. They will no longer resonate with the person and will eventually be discarded. Number 9. The person will experience bursts of creativity. A little earlier, we talked about creativity and how it is considered a positive factor at a spiritual level. However, I must pose the question again. Is creativity a spiritual quality? According to Dolores canon, this quality is seen as a spiritual sign. Beyond imagination, the insights and wisdom embedded in a burst of creativity can originate from much higher energies, accessible only from a higher level of consciousness. Therefore, guided and supported by the research of this illustrious woman, we can mention moments of heightened creative activity as a sign of connection with our higher self. If we analyze our environment and the people we know, we realize that not all individuals possess the same degree of creativity, which can be associated with different levels of spirituality and connection with the profound waters of wisdom. Hard work on ourselves can lead us not only to the expansion of our being, but also to the possibility of accessing a higher level of creativity. This is because our being allows itself to have a series of thoughts that are not as logical, square, or structured, and do not follow conventional rules or patterns. But this is not something negative, as even when devising absurd scenarios, the human mind can find a point in them that connects what has been created with a possible solution to what it faces. From these thoughts, our being may also enter a deep reflective state about the reality it faces, even raising many questions about the current way of life, leading to improvements or advancements. The possibilities of what can be achieved in the midst of unstructured thinking seem endless, and in its own way, all of this is very positive. There is nothing that is not beneficial when it comes to externalizing a drastic internal change, in this case, guided by our higher self. Over time, it has even been observed how, in the midst of these bursts of creativity, the spark that gives rise to new inventions and improvements for humanity is often found. Many great inventions arise from a moment of creativity where, allowing the mind to go beyond the conventional, it stumbles upon a feasible idea that solves a need. It's not wrong to have these sudden bursts. In fact, they are good indicators, and allowing them is not a crime or a waste of time. I encourage you to let your mind soar as high as it desires. Don't forget that this manifestation of your connection with your higher self is quite precious, and it's a privilege that few have access to. So feel privileged and enjoy the fruits of cultivating internal dialogue and a connection with wisdom. Your creativity can also be seen as a connection with the universe, with its energies and the wisdom that is stored within it, so give it the appropriate value and don't limit it to being seen as a moment when inspiration has struck you, because there is much more behind those instances. Number 10. The person feels a great and compelling desire for change. You might think that there are many factors that can make a person feel the desire to change aspects of their life, but indeed, this desire is associated with that connection we have with our higher self. Let's rewind a bit to remember that one of the main functions of that bond is to provide you with guidance so that our conscious side absorbs knowledge and works on aspects of our being that keep us anchored or stuck in our processes. As if it were an instruction manual being read by our soul within our being, this connection is magical and transformative, and as it is cultivated, it brings many challenges as well as many benefits. But none of this is possible without changes occurring within us, because just listening to that intuition that guides us is not enough. That same voice will encourage us to examine many aspects of ourselves and get to know ourselves better. The way our higher self frees us from the ego to let us see ourselves honestly, in the deepest sense, leaves many speechless, revealing aspects that were even strange to our conscious part. What we have tried to sweep under the rug, what we have wanted to ignore, everything will come to light if we let ourselves be guided by our higher self in this journey of healing and growth. Although it may sound unbelievable, there are many people who fear themselves, and the mere idea of looking within causes them discomfort. These individuals undoubtedly hinder the strengthening of the connection with their higher selves, thus remaining anchored to their current state. On the other hand, those who embark on the journey of self-discovery and alignment with wisdom enjoy great rewards, which lie behind healing and internal change. These changes may be seen as desires to modify aspects that were perhaps deeply ingrained in the personality of that individual. It should not be viewed as a rejection of oneself and what one represents, but as a desire to leave behind anything that no longer serves them on their journey or aligns with their level of consciousness. Any practice, idea, belief, or routine that is no longer useful for the person will be detected from this new level of consciousness and, consequently, will be eliminated in a drastic manner on many occasions. The intensity with which this need for change is experienced may make it seem impulsive to some, but it is, in reality, an intense remodeling to expand our being. We should perceive changes as something positive in any form and establish that every internal change will subsequently translate into an external change as one goes hand in hand with the other. When we feel this, we are witnessing our readiness for improvement and growth. Even if it ends up discomforting some people in your surroundings, you must keep that expansion of your inner self as your guiding principle. Dolores Cannon has described this desire for change as an enhancer of the task we face to become our true selves, the authentic version of our being that the ego has transformed into what it currently is. As if it were our soul speaking and asking to return to its true form and expression, this desire for change seems to address deeper wishes and needs than most people realize. This leads some to wonder, how can I aid this process of transformation and improvement guided by my higher self? And of course, there are ways to do so. This process can benefit from practices such as meditation, keeping a journal with our thoughts, ideas and emotions reflecting what we do not want to forget each day. Yoga and even moderate exercise contribute to alleviating the feeling of being overwhelmed on the journey. If you struggle to manage bursts of creativity, painting and free writing can be your allies. However, the ultimate recommendation is not to let this connection with your higher self fade, but to encourage it. Let's cultivate internal dialogue and embrace each new knowledge the universe brings us, enjoying those signs of approval it gives us in this process. I know that more than one person is going through all of this now, and probably didn't understand the origin of these situations or the signals the environment was giving them. That's why I've taken on the task of sharing all this with you. And if you enjoyed our conversation here, feel free to give this video a like. Remember, you can visit the comments section and let us know what other topics you would like us to discuss. I'll read every opinion, and together we'll determine the direction of our next journey into knowledge. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and activate notifications to receive exclusive content. We'll meet again in this space to tackle a new topic. Until then, I send you many blessings and light.